They're bigger, they're furrier, they're back, they're Asuran. Let's talk about it. So the 250 years from Guild Wars 1 to Guild Wars 2, the Asura went from these goblin-like creatures that were more tribalistic in their appearance to this technologically advanced Magitech armor-wearing society we know now. This concept art really reflects a completely different take than what we've been shown thus far, and yet some curious nature what we've grown to love. Always advancing, yet reflectively giving me kind of like a split faction vibe, kind of similar from like we have Inquest and just a regular affiliation of the Arcade Council from Radisum. Within the representing colors from the concept arts, the Vael Wardens, I very much think this blue, yellow, whatever it is going to be the official colors for the Vael Wardens, and possibly we're going to get a glimpse with the other Asura here that could be representing the Maven Rights in the red and yellow. However, I love what they've shown us so far, feeling very similar yet fresh enough to make me wonder how different they are from our current egocentric friends. All right, moving on to the blog post. Playable species spotlight Asura. Discover how the pursuit of knowledge brings the Asura to Ore in Guild Wars 3. Hello Guild Wars community, I'm Liz Baker, Senior Narrative Designer in Guild Wars 3, with a peek into the Asura of the Orion Golden Age. Just as Tyria looks very different in this time before the exodus of the gods, so does the species of diminutive scholars. While the majority of to expand their beloved depths throughout the vast subterranean interior, the Asura of Ore represent a more adventurous and insatiable of their ilk, an expeditionary lineage who went where their kin dared not to go in pursuit of emerging forests that would come to transform their entire civilization: magic. A new look. In Guild Wars Eye of the North, we met the Asura after they emerged from their extended period of exclusively subterranean living. Their appearance has been shaped by the depths of Tyria. No fur, not much height, large eyes, and pointed teeth. But in the present Guild Wars 3, over a millennium before the Primordial stirring, Asuran society has more of a balanced relationship with the surface. Though fossorial at their core, the Asura do venture above ground for a variety of reasons: business, pleasure, and curiosity. So the average Asura you meet in Ore will be of a different stripe than their evolved descendants, figuratively and literally. Rough around the edges, a little taller, though still not eye level with humans, a hair furrier. On the inside, however, they are very much resemble the species you know and love with their large, inquiring minds and even bigger ambitions. This is especially true of the Asura who migrated to Ore before the start of Guild Wars 3. It was an insatiable urge to discover that kept them going through decades-long journey of trial and error from the Maguma jungle to the Shiver Peak Mountains and finally to Ore. The Big Dig. Ore first blipped on the radar of Asuran consciousness during their initial expansion to the depths around 300 BE. Tunnels were stretching out in every direction from the heart of the Maguma jungle, no small feat before the gift of magic, bound to mechanical tools and physical processes. Their engineering efforts cost time, materials, labor, and sometimes the laborers themselves, as a few unlucky crews discover whenever their shovels turned to ore. First, it was unexpected seawater that flooded a branch of tunnels along the coastline. Then, once they figured out underwater construction, came the tremors emanating from deep beneath the peninsula's abyssal plain. No matter the method or angle of approach, the way would collapse. It was almost as if Ore itself rejected the Asura's digging. Most Asura took the obstacles at face value. Why sacrifice more time and bodies when there's plenty of space elsewhere to dig? But one engineer couldn't give up so easily. Zoel, the Arc Engineer, was a young apprentice when, while on above a ground survey, she glimpsed ore on the horizon, heard tell of it brimming with impossible magical forces. The memory stuck with her through many obstacles and the little progress until her elder years, when she decided to take one last sojourn to the surface. Accompanied by her granddaughter Naomi, Zoel led them to emerge near the top of Crichton Canyon. Their eyes still adjusting to the light, the pair turned to Ore just in time to witness the great eruption, a brief incandescent paint the horizon. There it was, in a stark prismatic relief, the magic of Ore, more potent than anywhere else in Hyria and far less understood. They had to go there, and if underground was not a viable path, it was time the Asura adapted. On that very spot, grandmother and progeny founded Radapen. the humble beginnings of Asura's most ambitious above-ground expedition Tyria, fixed squarely on the storied lands of Or. I love how we're getting a full-blown story, accompanied with like a background on how the Asura got there. Starting with Zoel, they mention that she's an arc engineer, and it makes me wonder how advanced they are comparatively speaking to the Asura from Guild Wars 1, and the two different factions of Asura completely going two different paths of advancement here. As you see in the video I'm sharing right here, you can actually go to Radatien. It's in Mount Maelstrom in Guild Wars 2. It looks to be just like brick ruins, but it really shows the journey south they must have gone through going to Or, because you have those same ruins far south from that point in Lightfoot Passage, which goes straight into the Straits of Devastation. You get a glimpse of what the greater Or territory could have been before the Flood of Zaitan. I mean, this is like juicy stuff, right? I really think I'm anticipating a much bigger playable space Or is going to be in Guild Wars 3. So yeah, it's super exciting, and I can't wait to actually see the full-blown map we're going to have access to in Guild Wars 3 for sure. A launch pad to Or. At first, many Asuran rushed to join the pioneering Patapien lab. Zoel and Naomi's joint account of raw power they witnessed sparked a collective hunger that one day defined them. All craved knowledge of magic, to study and master it for the uplift of their species. Their fervor only increased as news of humans encoded and migrating to Or trickled down through the depths. Suddenly, there was competition, and the Asura were behind. But while the desire to go was strong, the will to do it was in shorter supply. It took many more years of experimentation and investigation before this first step could be taken. Land surveys from which none returned, machines that malfunctioned, and the usual bickering and planning delays of any mass collaborative effort. Only the most daring and committed were left by the time Naomi, soon to be deemed the Trailblazer, formed the Radatien expeditionary crew, save for one notable absence. The night before the journey, Zoel died in her sleep, dreaming of the land her granddaughter would one day reach. And reach it Naomi did. Sunburnt, surly, and missing half her crew, the survivors had withstood a heat sickness, supply shortfalls, and wildlife encounters. They had left behind all they knew, effectively cutting themselves off from their kin in the depths, sacrificed years of their lives, and for what? An unknown land of certain challenges and unquantified resources, and the Vael. Years of doubt evaporated in an instant. It had all been worth it. So unlike the two previous blog posts, we're getting this long journeyed narrative with perhaps someone we might hear or meet about in the Vael. Whoever this Naomi person is to us as Asura characters, maybe we'll hear or learn tales of her grandmother Zoel, to perhaps maybe the ambitions of her own dreams and aspirations she wanted for the Asura people there. And lastly, let's finish off this blog post. Lifting the Vael. Of course, the dilemmas didn't end with the expeditionary's crew's arrival. Their enthusiasm for land's potential and their no-holds-barred investigation style resulted in more than one clash with Or's native creatures and their protectors. The Vael Wardens came to regard the Asura as reckless, if well-intentioned interlopers. The Asura, in turn, viewed the Order of the Vael as dogmatic and allergic to march of progress. Eventually, however, the Order did evolve, opening their ranks to all, including the Asura. Now, decades into their establishment in Or, only a handful leaped at the chance to learn the Guild's ways, especially regarding the artificing of signets. This signature art, passed on by the human gods Duena and Melandru, allowed the Vael Wardens to craft powerful and versatile arms by binding multiple signets to a single weapon. Who could pass it up the chance to wield such power? And in service to the Vael, yet many remain skeptical, probably sticking with their own institutions and methods. Orion Asura now. In the present of Guild Wars 3, the descendants of Radatien expeditionary crew have spread all over the continent, and though physically separated from their Tyrian cousins, they have re-established a long-distance connection with the broader Asuran civilization via Radatien, which is now a small but strategically located Tranian post. Down in the depths, every report passes through crew to crew like an electric current. Even those who once scoffed at the surface expedition now linger over its findings. They can feel it. Something is coming that will change what it means to be Asura. Most can't yet name it, but those who've held a humming signet or witnessed the unique majesty of the Vael spirits already know its shape. The Asura of Or find themselves at a threshold of their species' future. A door leading to unimaginable transformation is beginning to open. There is much more for the Asura to discover in Ore and for us on the dev team to reveal. Stay tuned. We'll cover the spirits born of the Vael's magic and other guilds and their conflicting interest, and late this year, our 4th playable species and their deeply bound destiny to the realm. Okay, hold up, pump the brakes. Did they describe a major component to the Guild Wars 3 combat system here? These signets sound incredibly similar to the materia system in Final Fantasy VII, which was a system where they used these orbs to be slotted into weapons and armor to give them character spells, abilities, stat boosts, stuff like that. This sounds like an interplay build system where these effects can give different synergies depending on the class you'll be playing in the game, and maybe, just maybe, they'll be universal, but also unique to how the class may use them individually. If anything, this makes me hopeful for build diversity they're wanting to achieve in Guild Wars 3, similar kind of like a blend between Guild Wars 2 trait system skills and Guild Wars 1's deck building type of build system as well. As for the Asura, I'm loving the personality staying true to the pompous, egotistical selves, and how the deviation perhaps the society that came to Ore could possibly be being split between these Vael Wardens and Maven Rights, and possibly even further guilds from that, which the Maven Rights, in a lot of sense, way they're describing them, very much sound like they would align with Asura ideologies. So yeah, that's it for now, guys. Sounds like we won't be getting the last species until a few weeks from now, and in between, we'll be getting much more info about other lore parts of the game, has to offer, the guilds, the spirits, stuff like that. Nevertheless, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.